What is up, everyone? This is Noelle Foley, and you are listening to Pro Wrestling Proverbs. Oh, yeah. Have a nice day.
There's been a lot of talk within the scripture book about final matches. A lot of these tongue-in-cheek because of the Ric Flair last match. And even though that was, 3 years ago? Almost 4 years ago? Ric Flair still talks about it as if it was actual gospel. So I sat around and I truly thought about it. Who would be able to have a blank last match that WWE would put on? Because a lot of these scriptures that I've talked about, I've had to use, like, I tried to be a little realistic here, folks. I did Stings, I did Goldberg's, I think I did a Hogan one, and I knew WWE wouldn't be okay with that. So I tried to, use AEW talent, indie talent. Who's someone that WWE would do? And again, trying to stick with a little bit of realism here. I'm pretty sure we've seen Austin's. Triple H can't. We've seen Shawn Michaels. We've seen Undertaker's. And I thought about it. This guy was trying his damnedest to get into shape to have a retirement match on the Indies. But what if the WWE doctors allowed former 3-time WWE champion Mick Foley to come back and have his one more match?
Bang, bang.
And I think right now is the perfect time, because besides just having WWE on the card, they've got a partnership with TNA. They've got a partnership with Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan. And now they own AAA down in Mexico. There's a lot of hands that can be in this pie. And I generally think Mick Foley, you always see the tweets, you see the Facebook post, who's a wrestler that, everybody likes. They might not be the best wrestler, might not have the best promos, but, such a good person, everyone likes him. And I think Mick Foley's at the top of that list, and I think we'd be able to get quite a few people trying to clamor for the ability to be on the card. I had a lot of fun going through the rosters, figuring out who could wrestle and why. And it's been quite a time. So let me just take this old guy off the shelf here. I get a little dust off it. Here we are. Logan Scripture, Mick Foley's last match. I'd have Michael Cole be on commentary, because Michael Cole has been here for the majority of Mick Foley. I guess I'll say his popularity run in the WWE. Cole came on when Mankind was picking up steam. Cole was in the commentary crew with Commissioner Foley being on TV. And then Cole was with the company when Foley came back, 2004. So it makes sense. But I'd also have Jeremy Borash on commentary. JB worked with Mick Foley in TNA, and he's one of the most respected guys in the industry right now. He's backstage for WWE, but I think they'd be able to get him to call this with Cole. We'll eventually get to the main event, but some of the matches on here that I would have, you got to fill a card. I think it would be very fun to have the Dudley Boys, the Hardy Boys, and the Lucha Bros in a TLC match. Mick Foley, of course, godfather of hardcore. Why not have one of the better matches almost redone, being that Cope and Christian Cage are in AEW. They wouldn't be able to participate in this, but why not have this? I'd have the Lucha Bros go over. This is one of those matches. There'd be a bunch of crazy spots. It'd be a fun match to open the show. But of course, you got to have that new talent win, especially since Bubba's such a good coach on, what is it, LFW? LFG, whatever he's a trainer on. Another match I'd have on the show, this would be a comedy one, because again, Mick Foley, not always a serious wrestler, not always a serious guy. I would make this on a pole match. And here's my thought process. Mr. Iguana, Santino Marella, and Danhausen.
Oh, Danhausen.
And each of them, in their corner, will have a pole. And on said pole, Mr. Iguana will be the iguana puppet. Santino will be a cobra. The sock he puts on, not an actual snake. I'm not a criminal. Danhausen's will be Mr. Sockohausen, and it'll be a Mr. Socko, but it'll have the Danhausen face paint on it. And they'd go through a comedy match that would have a whole bunch of comedy spots, and the winner, which has to be Danhausen because he's using a Mr. Socko,
right,
would be the one to pull off their partner from the pole and use it on one of their opponents. So a good little win there for Danhausen. This would take place, of course, after his AEW contract is up, as it is reaching that point now in the current world. I'd also have a Nick Nemeth versus Uncle Howdy match. No true reason for this, except Uncle Howdy, obviously a Bray Wyatt creation. Bray Wyatt, with a lot of comparisons to Mick Foley. Especially with the multiple characters, multiple personas. And then, I'm going to tell the honest truth, I want to get Nick Nemeth on the card. I have no 100% clarification on this, but he seems like a Mick Foley guy. I mean, they both do stand-up comedy. Both of them kind of got disrespected during their title runs.
This Nick also dressed
both
up like
of them
Santa Claus during Christmas.
Yeah. Both of them also stepped away from the business and came back and stepped away and came back quite a bit. So there's a lot of similarities between Nemeth and Foley. I'd have Nemeth go over. I don't think Uncle Howdy should beat Nick Nemeth. That's all I'll say to that one. A Pro Wrestling Noah match I'd have would be Super Crazy, who is in the original ECW, and he'd face El Hijo de Dr. Wagner. And this would be a classic luchador match. Mick Foley, as I said, Super Crazy was in ECW, but Mick Foley was there for the cruiserweights when they came into ECW. Recently, on the WWE Vault YouTube channel, they posted the infamous Cactus Jack Sabu Rey Mysterio match. I say infamous because people have looked for it for a long time, and WWE Vault has finally uploaded it. I'd give the nod here to El Hijo de Dr. Wagner. Now, as a lot of people know, Mick Foley, big advocate for the Divas. Always has been, and all Divas too. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a video before her passing where Mick Foley met up with Chyna at a convention, and once they hugged, she started crying just because of, the generosity of Mick Foley always being there for her. I think you got to have it be Natalya versus Mickie James. Mick Foley and Mickey James, real friends in real life. Makes sense there. And then Natalya, I mean, Mick got to wrestle with her Uncle Owen. Got to travel with Uncle Owen. He got to work with Bret Hart. So again, just a little callback. With what they're doing with Natalya right now in the NWA, I gotta have Natalya win this match. And now we'd be about at the halfway point. And you can't have a Mick Foley show without Noelle Foley. Talk about bang bang, right? But unfortunately, Anthony's favorite guy is with her.
Frank the Clown.
Frank the Clown.
Oh, buddy. This guy stinks.
So this is where I'll start going in a little more depth with each of the matches. This one would be a match, but Frank would take the microphone out of Noelle's hand and talk about how no matter how much he's tried to show Mick Foley respect, Mick Foley just keeps putting him down. He'll put him in the mandible claw, he'll double arm DDT him, he'll throw him into a legend to get beat up. He's sick of it, and he's glad that Mick's finally having his last match. And then from then on, the real Foley, I'm going to assume Frank would take Noelle's last name, because he just seems like that kind of guy. But the real Foley is going to be the star. Noelle looks shocked, can't believe it. She's going to go say something, and then the lights go out. Fans gasp, they don't know what's happening. And then the arena turns red, and flames come up from the stage, and Kane starts walking out. Kane gets to the base of the ring. Lights go out again. Lightning strikes this time. And then Taker rolls out on his bike. They surround the ring. Frank the Clown's looking around. He doesn't understand. And he gets on the mic and he goes, well, you guys hated Mick Foley too. So you're just out here to help me just talk about him. Here we are, the three clowns. And then Taker and Kane get in the ring. They give him a good double choke slam. Each man hits the tombstone. And then Noelle laughs and walks off with the Brothers of Destruction. As they're cleaning up Frank the Clown from the ring, weapons start getting set up as we are going to get a Monsters Ball match. We know that it's going to be Sami Callihan. We know that it's going to be one of the higher-ups at TNA, Tommy Dreamer. Tommy against someone that got to wrestle Mick Foley's Cactus Jack. And they both had the same mentor in Tommy Dreamer. Or in Terry Funk, excuse me. Tommy comes out wearing some Terry Funk-inspired pants, as he would. He's got on the flannel shirt for Foley. He's ready. They don't know who the third opponent is going to be. And then that's when the fans hear it. For the first time at a WWE event, and for the first time in, I believe it's been over 5 years, Abyss's theme song hits. Abyss comes out as the third man in the Monsters Ball. This would just be it'd be a hardcore fury. Chairs, kendo sticks, staplers, cheese graters, tables, fire, tacks, until Abyss eventually hits the black hole slam on Tommy Dreamer to pick up that 1, 2, 3. The next match is the final one before the final three the final three matches on the card. This is a match between Macias from AAA down in Mexico, and he is going to face Masato Tanaka from Pro Wrestling Noah. I've picked these two specifically not because they've necessarily worked with Mick Foley in the past, but because I believe their styles would have meshed with him in story perfectly. Masato Tanaka, a former ECW heavyweight champion. If you haven't seen his matches with Mike Awesome, either in the original ECW or at the first ECW One Night Stand, definitely go take a look. Some of the best ECW work out there, and I can't say enough about it. Macias, for casual fans of TNA wrestling, you may remember him as Judas Macias, Abyss's brother, who was essentially, if Abyss is Undertaker, that's his Kane. He's a big guy. He's menacing. He does a lot of work in Mexico. And both of these guys can take a licking and keep on hitting. And I would love to see this match. I don't believe this has happened before. I could be wrong. And if it's out there, my mistake. But this would be, Dusty Rhodes will call it clubbering. And I'd end up having Macias win just because right now he's a champion down at AAA. So who knows, WWE fans? We may be seeing him soon. Now here we are. 3 matches left. The first is the only one that Mick Foley requested for the show. The only one that he wanted to sit at Gorilla and watch. From WWE, you have CM Punk. From Pro Wrestling Noah, you have Kenta, the former Hideo Itami, in what is called the Battle of the GTS. And this just, with Mick Foley's knowledge and his connection to Japanese wrestling, I think Kenta's a great choice. And I mean, CM Punk, one of the few people who actually made WWE ECW enjoyable. One of the few people that probably could have had a match with Foley. And he was also the special ref when Mick Foley pinned Chris Jericho at his Hall of Fame induction. So they've got some history. As I said, Mick Foley loves wrestling. I think he would certainly want to be able to have a match that would represent that. And that's what this is. I would have CM Punk win, but instead of using the Pepsi plunge in the match, I'd have him go up, set up for it, but he'd do a double arm DDT from the top rope to win as a little nod, a little tribute to Mick Foley. In the semi-main event, I would have Rob Van Dam, who occasionally wrestles for Pro Wrestling Noah and is under a WWE Legends contract, so all's fair. RVD, again, a former ECW alumni, of course. I'd have RVD come out in a tribute to Sabu, as I'm sure if Sabu was around, he would most definitely be on a Mick Foley last match show. And I would have Rob Van Dam face, who I think is almost a modern-day Mick Foley, with his connection to the fans, his true positivity outside of the ring, his ability to work in the ring, even though he doesn't have, that wrestler look. Of course, I'm talking about Sami Zayn. I think Rob Van Dam and Sami Zayn would tear the house down. Of course, you'd have to have your Sabu references. Rob Van Dam would do the double moonsaults. I think Sami Zayn may pull out a mask from his cousin El Generico a time or two. But to make this a fun show with surprises, I'd have the lights go out again. But this time when they turn on, before they went out, Rob Van Dam was getting ready to do a 5-star frog splash to Zayn. The lights come on, and it's Kevin Owens standing in the ring. We haven't seen him since he had to go for neck surgery. He distracts Rob Van Dam enough to where RVD gets down. It's, "What are you doing here?" And he stuns Rob Van Dam. He then wakes Sami Zayn up. Sami Zayn hits the Halua kick. And the 1, 2, 3. Sami Zayn wins. And he gets to celebrate with Kevin Owens. And I think this would be great for Mick. Not sure if you heard, but when Sami and KO had their unsanctioned match, I guess. Rumor has it they went to a certain hardcore legend for some certain spots, especially that nasty fall through the ladder. But we finally got here. The main event. Now, I looked through the roster of WWE. I looked through the roster of TNA. I looked through the roster of AAA. I looked through Pro Wrestling Noah. And you've already heard all these men I've used in matches. So I bet you're wondering, who is Mick Foley going to face in his final match? A main event in a hardcore match. Well, at one point in time, Mick Foley won a King of the Deathmatch tournament. So you're going to have the former winner of the King of the Deathmatch facing the current Deathmatch King, the Indie God, the former Zack Ryder, now Matt Cardona. These two would be swinging. I'd have Cardona come out. He always he'll have different attires. Like when he faced PCO at Bound for Glory, it was a Ghostbusters attire. Sometimes he'll come out as the Indie God, the Indie Taker. I'd do one better. I would have Matt Cardona, since this is, again, a hardcore style match, ruthless. Have him come out dressed as none other than Edge from WrestleMania 22. Down to the rated R patch, but instead of rated R, it's he has a rated MC for his logo. Just another way to poke Foley. But it wouldn't just be this match that would keep the audience's attention. They would have a good one. Foley would get his moves in. Cardona would be beating him down. Foley would come back and he'd bring out that 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire. But then there's a familiar music that hits, especially to TNA fans. And I'd have Kurt Hawkins bring out his system stable, Moose and Eddie Edwards, to help try and take out Foley. Cardona and Myers, of course, the Major Bros from a Raw Tag Team Champions. I'd have them start walking out to the ring, and then that's when you'd have CM Punk and Sami Zayn come out. They'd be able to take some of them down, but Moose is still able to get in the ring. Moose grabs Mick Foley by the throat, and he's going to take him out for Cardona. Until we hear, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking." And he doesn't come out in his final boss attire. He comes out in black athletic pants and a Rockin' Sock Connection t-shirt. Stands up to Moose, hits him with his punches, spine busters him, and he goes to hit the people's elbow, but Mick Foley stops him. And in all this chaos, he's gotten Matt Cardona down. He puts Cardona next to Moose, and we get a tandem people's elbow from Mick Foley and The Rock. Mick Foley pins Cardona. The crowd goes wild. And then The Rock's already in there, but you get everyone else coming out to celebrate with Mick Foley. And to end the show, he unbuttons his flannel, and underneath, he's got a Funk You Terry Funk t-shirt on. And that's what the camera zooms in on. And before it turns to black, you see those familiar bang bang fingers pop up. And then it goes to black. And that is how I would book a Mick Foley last match event. And it has something for everybody. Luchadors, hardcore wrestling, comedy wrestling, surprises, and of course, everyone's favorite final boss, The Rock. Now, if you want to hear any more of these tales from the good book, we do have a playlist on YouTube that's got them all in order. Some of them are ways that something could be booked, some of them are final matches, and some of them are ways that something should have been booked. If you have something that you think, I know, should be in the good book, let me know, and who knows, maybe we'll have a future episode. While playing around on ChatGPT, they thought I was on Scripture 21, so I mean, we've got a long way to go.
Oh, by the time you do that, ChatGPT will think you're around 50.
And do you want to own a scripture? Do you want to own a copy that you can put your own scriptures in? We do have an Etsy store, and it is there. It is available. Go buy one now. You know,
Low price.
keeps up.
$25.
I've got one. I've got a couple. I know a couple other people that have bought it.
Corner. Get your dad a nice dad hat with the PWP logo, or if your dad's more into drinking the alcoholic beverages because you were a disappointment as a child, we have shot glasses and canned koozies. So when they're drinking,
And the canned koozies are fixed. The canned koozies are fixed now. When we first put them up, I didn't mirror the image correctly. So there was a couple that were sent out where one side the image is flipped. Not now. I did my job. Not now. But yeah, Father's Day. Go on there, buy anything. My co-host here does have a birthday coming up. Why not help fund a couple drinks by going to our Etsy store or going to any of our social medias and liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the good word of pro wrestling Proverbs.